Family is supposed to be your anchor, your truth. But what happens when the people you trust most weave a web of lies, leaving you questioning your entire life? This is one man's story of love, betrayal, and a secret hidden in plain sight. My name is Amir, 40 years old, living in a quiet suburb just outside Chicago. I own a small auto repair shop, a business I built from scratch after years of working under greasy hoods for someone else. My pride and joy, though, is my daughter, Layla, who's 10 and has this spark in her eyes that reminds me why I grind every day. I've been married to Noor, my wife, for 12 years. She's the woman I thought I'd grow old with, the one I pictured building a family legacy alongside, like my immigrant parents did for me. They came from Pakistan with nothing but dreams and a stubborn will to survive. Their sacrifices are why I'm here, why I've always wanted a tight-knit family of my own. But now, looking back, I wonder if that dream blinded me to the truth. Noor and I met in college. She was vibrant, with this laugh that could light up a room. Her family, also Pakistani immigrants, welcomed me like a son. Her parents, her brother Zain, her cousins, they were loud, warm, always gathering for chai and stories. I loved it. Growing up, my own family was small, just my parents and me. So being folded into Noor's big, chaotic clan felt like finding home. We got married young, had Layla a couple years later, and I thought we were set. Sure, we had our fights, money was tight sometimes, and I worked long hours at the shop, but I never doubted us, not until the cracks started showing. It began about 3 years ago, subtle at first. Noor started spending more time with her brother's friend, Hassan. He was this guy who'd been around their family forever, almost like a cousin, she said. Hassan was single, in his late 30s, always helping out. Fixing Zayn's car, dropping off groceries for Noor's parents. Noor called it cultural loyalty, how we take care of our own. She'd invite him over for dinner, and I'd come home from the shop to find him at our table, laughing with her and Layla. At first, I didn't mind. I liked the guy. He was polite, brought gifts for Layla, even helped me with a tricky engine once. But then I noticed things. Noor's phone started buzzing more. Late at night, she'd step outside to take calls, saying it was her mom or Zayn. Once, I caught her smiling at a text, but when I asked, she brushed it off. Just family stuff, she'd say, tucking her phone away. I started feeling like a guest in my own house. Hassan was around more, family barbecues, Eid celebrations, even random weeknights. I'd ask Noor why he was always there, and she'd get defensive. He's like family. Amir, don't make it weird. Her family backed her up. Zayn told me I was overreacting, that Hassan was one of us. Noor's mom even called me controlling, saying I didn't understand how their family worked. I started doubting myself. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe this was just how their family operated, and I was the outsider who didn't get it. But the unease grew. I'd lie awake at night, replaying moments, her quick glances at Hassan, the way she'd linger when saying goodbye. I wanted to trust her, to believe in the family we built. My parents had taught me that family was everything, that you fight for it no matter what. So I pushed the doubts down, focused on Layla, on the shop. I told myself I was imagining things, that Noor's family wouldn't lie to me. They were my family too, right? I clung to that. Even as the distance between me and Noor widened, I didn't know it then, but I was standing on the edge of a truth that would shatter everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and family. The doubts I tried to bury didn't stay quiet for long. They'd creep in during the slow moments at the shop, when I was elbow deep in an engine, or at night when Noor was asleep beside me, her phone glowing faintly on the nightstand. I'd stare at the ceiling, wondering why I felt like I was losing her. It wasn't just Hassan's constant presence. It was the way Noor's family seemed to close ranks around him, like he was more one of them than I ever could be. I started paying closer attention, and the more I looked, the more I saw. Noor's late-night calls became a routine. She'd slip out to the back porch, her voice low, laughing softly in a way that stung because it wasn't for me. I'd ask her about it the next day, casual, trying not to sound like I was accusing her of anything. Oh, it was just Zayn, catching up, she'd say. Or, Mom needed to vent about Dad. But the excuses didn't add up. Zayn worked night shifts as a nurse. He wasn't calling at midnight. And Noor's mom? She went to bed by 9 p.m., sharp. I started checking her phone when she was in the shower, not proud of it. But desperation makes you do things you never thought you would. The call log showed numbers I didn't recognize, but no names. She deleted the texts. I tried talking to Zane myself, thinking maybe he'd level with me. We grabbed coffee one Saturday, and I laid it out how Hassan was always around, how Noor was acting distant. Zane leaned back, sipping his latte, and gave me this pitying look. Bro, you're reading too much into it. Hassan's been our boy since we were kids. He's family. You know how it is with us. Loyalty's everything. He laughed, like I was some clueless outsider. Noor stressed. That's all. Don't make it a thing. I left that coffee shop feeling smaller than when I walked in, like I was the one betraying the family by even asking. But the worst was at family gatherings. Noor's parents hosted these big dinners every month, and Hassan was always there, helping in the kitchen or playing soccer with the kids in the backyard. I'd watch Noor and him. The way they'd share quick looks or laugh at some inside joke. Once, during Ramadan, I saw them step outside together after iftar. They were gone maybe 10 minutes, but it felt like hours. When I asked Noor later, she snapped at me. We were just talking. Amir, why are you always so suspicious? You're embarrassing me. Her mom overheard and pulled me aside, her voice soft but firm. Amir, you need to trust your wife. This isn't how we do things in our family. I apologized, hating myself for it. Layla was the only thing keeping me grounded. She'd climb onto my lap after dinner, showing me her drawings or telling me about school, but even that started to hurt, because I'd catch her watching Noor and Hassan, her little brows furrowing like she sensed something off too. One night, she asked me, Baba, why's Uncle Hassan always here? I froze, my heart pounding. I mumbled something about him being family, but her question stuck with me. If a 10-year-old could see it, why was I letting everyone gaslight me into thinking I was crazy? I started pulling away, not on purpose, but because I didn't know how to be around Noor anymore. I'd stay late at the shop, finding excuses to avoid coming home to Hassan's car in our driveway. I'd replay every moment of our marriage, wondering where I went wrong. Was I too focused on the business? Not affectionate enough? I even thought maybe it was cultural, like I hadn't fully embraced Noor's family's ways. My parents had always said marriage was work, so I tried harder, cooked her favorite biryani, planned date nights, but Noor seemed distracted, like she was somewhere else. And her family? They kept acting like everything was fine, like I was the problem for noticing the cracks. I didn't know it yet, but those cracks were about to split wide open, and the truth would come spilling out in a way I couldn't ignore. The weight of it all was crushing me, but I didn't have proof, just a gut that wouldn't shut up and a daughter's innocent question echoing in my head. I kept going through the motions. Work, home, forcing smiles for Layla. But every time I saw Noor's phone light up or caught her whispering with Hassan at another family dinner, it was like a knife twisting deeper. I wanted to confront her, to demand answers. But her family's voices rang louder in my mind, calling me controlling, paranoid. I was starting to wonder if I was losing it. Then came the weekend that changed everything. It was a Saturday, and Noor said she was going to her parents' place to help her mom with some spring cleaning. She took Layla with her, which wasn't unusual. I stayed behind to catch up on paperwork at the shop. Around noon, I got a text from Noor saying they'd be back late. Maybe after dinner. Something about the text felt off. Too vague, too casual. I tried calling her, but it went to voicemail. I told myself to calm down, that I was overthinking. Again, but I couldn't shake the feeling, so I closed the shop early and drove to her parents' house. When I got there, the driveway was empty except for Zane's car. No sign of Noor's SUV. I knocked, and Zane opened the door, looking surprised. Amir? What's up, man? I asked where Noor and Layla were, and he hesitated, just a split second, but enough to make my stomach drop. Oh, they're out with Mom, running errands, he said, scratching his neck. I knew he was lying. Noor's mom had arthritis. She didn't do errands on weekends. I pressed him, my voice sharper than I meant. Where are they, Zane? Don't mess with me. He sighed, like I was being a hassle. Relax, bro. They're fine. Probably grabbed lunch or something. I left, my hands shaking as I gripped the steering wheel. I drove home, my mind racing. I didn't know what to do, but I couldn't sit still. I started tidying up, trying to keep busy, when I noticed Layla's backpack on the kitchen table. She'd left it behind that morning. I opened it to check for her homework, and that's when I found it. A small, folded piece of paper tucked in the front pocket. It was a drawing, one of Layla's, but it wasn't her usual flowers or family portraits. It showed three stick figures, a woman, a man, and a girl. The woman and man were holding hands, smiling, with the girl standing off to the side, her face sad. Above the woman, Layla had scribbled Mama. Above the man, Uncle H. My heart stopped. I sat there, staring at the paper, feeling like the air had been sucked out of the room. I don't know how long I sat there, but eventually, I started looking around the house, like I'd find answers in the walls. I ended up in our bedroom, opening drawers, closets, not even sure what I was searching for. Under Noor's side of the bed, I found a locked box I'd never seen before. It was small, metal, the kind you'd keep important papers in. I should have stopped, but I couldn't. I grabbed a screwdriver from the garage and pried it open. Inside was a photo album, no bigger than a notebook. My hands were trembling as I flipped it open. The first photo was Noor and Hassan, standing close, her head on his shoulder, at some beach I didn't recognize. The next was them at a restaurant, laughing, his arm around her, page after page. It was them, trips, dinners, moments I'd never heard about. Some photos had dates on the back, going back years. Years. I felt sick, like the ground was falling away. I kept flipping, hoping it was a mistake, but it wasn't. This wasn't just a friendship, and the worst part? In some photos, I recognized Zayn in the background, or Noor's cousin, smiling like they were in on it. Her whole family knew. They'd been covering for her, lying to my face, while I played the fool in my own marriage. I sat on the bedroom floor, the photo album open in my lap, my chest so tight I could barely breathe. The pictures burned into me. Noor smiling with Hassan, her eyes bright in a way I hadn't seen in years, places I'd never been, moments I'd never shared, and her family, grinning in the background, like this was normal, like I didn't exist. I kept flipping through, each page a new cut, until I reached the last one. Noor and Hassan at a park, Layla between them, holding their hands. My daughter, my little girl, caught in their lie. The date on the back was 6 months ago. I don't know how long I stayed there, but the room grew dark around me. My mind was a mess, replaying every family dinner. Every time Noor's mom patted my hand and called me Beta. Every time Zayn clapped my shoulder and said I was one of us. Had they all been laughing at me? Was I the punchline at every gathering? I thought about my parents, how they'd poured their lives into giving me a future, how they'd taught me family was sacred, and now, the family I'd built, the one I'd trusted, was a house of cards. When Noor and Layla got home that night, I was still sitting there, the album closed but heavy in my hands. Layla ran in, hugging me, chattering about her day. I held her tight, trying to keep my voice steady as I sent her to brush her teeth. Noor walked in, kicking off her shoes, and froze when she saw me. "Amir, what's wrong?" she asked, her voice too careful. I held up the album, my hands shaking. "What is this, Noor?" Her face went pale, and for a second, I thought she'd deny it. But she didn't. She just stood there, silent, like she'd been caught in a trap she always knew was coming. I asked her to sit, my voice low so Layla wouldn't hear. "How long?" I said, barely able to get the words out. She looked at the floor, twisting her hands. "It's not what you think," she started, but I cut her off. "Don't lie to me. I saw the photos. Years, Noor, years." She started crying, quiet sobs, but I didn't feel sorry for her. I felt empty. She said it started as friendship, that Hassan was there when I was always working. She swore it wasn't physical, just emotional. But the words rang hollow, emotional or not. She'd built a life with him behind my back, and her family? "They didn't want to hurt you," she whispered. "They thought it would pass." I wanted to scream, to throw the album across the room, but Layla was down the hall, so I just sat there, staring at this woman I didn't recognize. "You let them lie for you," I said. "Zayn, your mom, all of them. They looked me in the eye and lied." She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "I'm sorry, Amir," she kept saying, like it could fix anything. I told her to sleep in the guest room. I couldn't look at her. That night, I lay awake, the album on my nightstand like a grenade. I thought about Layla's drawing, her sad stick figure watching her mom and Hassan. Had she known? Had she been carrying this too? The thought made me sick. I kept seeing my own childhood, my parents working double shifts, their tired smiles at dinner, telling me family was worth everything. I'd wanted that for Layla, a home where she felt safe, loved, but now I wondered if I'd failed her, if I'd been so busy chasing that dream I'd missed the truth. By morning, I was numb. I got Layla ready for school. Avoiding Noor's red-rimmed eyes, I dropped Layla off, her backpack lighter without that drawing, but my heart heavier than ever. I drove to the shop, but I couldn't focus. Every tool, every car, reminded me of the life I'd built for us. I kept asking myself, how do I face her family again? How do I look at Zane, knowing he covered for her? And worst of all, how do I protect Layla from this mess? I didn't have answers, but I knew one thing. I couldn't pretend anymore. The truth was out, and it was tearing me apart. The days after finding the album were a blur, like I was moving through fog. I went through the motions, opening the shop, helping Layla with homework, cooking dinner, but it felt like someone else was living my life. Nurse stayed in the guest room, and we barely spoke. I couldn't look at her without seeing those photos, without hearing her lame excuses. It was just emotional, she'd said, as if that made it better. As if her family's lies didn't cut deeper than the betrayal itself. I kept the album hidden in my toolbox at the shop, not because I wanted to protect her, but because I couldn't risk Layla finding it. I was haunted by her drawing, that sad stick figure watching her mom and Hassan. I started watching Layla closer, searching for signs she was hurting. She was quieter than usual, spending more time sketching in her room. One evening, I sat with her while she colored, trying to find the words. You know you can talk to me, right, kiddo? I said, ruffling her hair. She nodded, but her eyes stayed on the paper. Is Mama okay? She asked, her voice small. I swallowed hard, forcing a smile. Yeah, she's just figuring some stuff out, but I'm here, always. She hugged me, and I held her tight, promising myself I'd shield her from this mess, even if I didn't know how. I couldn't avoid Noor's family forever, though. A week after the album, her mom called, inviting us to their usual monthly dinner. I didn't want to go, but Layla was excited. She loved her grandparents' cooking. I figured I could grit my teeth for one night. Walking into their house was like stepping into a trap. Zane was there, joking with his cousins, and Noor's parents greeted me with their usual warmth, like nothing was wrong. Hassan wasn't there, thank God, but his absence felt like a loud silence. I kept my head down, focusing on Layla, but every laugh, every beta from Noor's mom, felt like a slap. They knew, they'd all known. During dinner, Zane pulled me aside to the kitchen, his face serious for once. Noor told me you found some photos, he said, keeping his voice low. Look, man, it's not what you think. They're just close, that's all. I stared at him, my blood boiling. Close? I hissed. For years, Zane? With your whole family covering for her. He shifted, uncomfortable. We didn't want to hurt you, Amir. We thought she'd stop, that it was just a phase. A phase. I wanted to punch him. Instead, I walked away, grabbing Layla and telling Noor we were leaving. In the car, Noor tried to talk, but I cut her off. Not now, I said, my voice cold. Layla was in the back seat, and I wouldn't let her hear this. Back home, I couldn't hold it in anymore. After Layla was asleep, I confronted Noor in the living room. Your family knew, I said, my voice shaking. They watched me play the fool. Zane, your mom, your cousins, all of them. She started crying again, but this time, I didn't care. Why, Noor? Why'd you let them lie for you? She sank onto the couch, covering her face. I didn't know how to stop it, she said. Hassan was there when I felt alone. You were always at the shop. And he listened. I laughed, bitter. So it's my fault? I was building a life for us. She looked up, tears streaming. I know, Amir. I messed up. I love you, I swear. But her words felt like ash. I started questioning everything. Every late night at the shop, every time I'd trusted her family to have my back, I thought about my parents, how they'd fought through their struggles together, never hiding secrets. I felt like an outsider in my own life, like the family I'd poured my heart into wasn't mine anymore. Worst of all, I kept thinking about Layla, wondering how I'd explain this to her one day. I didn't have answers, but I knew I couldn't stay in this limbo. I had to decide what to do. For me, for Layla, for the family I dreamed of, but every choice felt like losing something I couldn't get back. I couldn't keep living like this, tiptoeing around the wreckage of my marriage while Noor's betrayal hung over us like a storm cloud. The guest room arrangement wasn't sustainable. Every creak of the floorboards when she moved at night reminded me of the photos, of her family's lies. I was angry, but more than that, I was tired of pretending for Layla, tired of carrying the weight of their secrets. I needed to do something, but every option felt like a betrayal of the life I'd built. I started talking to my best friend, Tarek, who'd known me since high school. We met at a diner near the shop, and I spilled everything. The album, Zayn's excuses, Noor's tears. Tarek listened, his face grim. "Man, that's messed up," he said, shaking his head. "Her whole family? That's not just her screwing up. That's a conspiracy." He asked what I was going to do, and I didn't have an answer. "You gotta think about Layla," he said. "She's watching you, even if she doesn't say it." His words hit hard. I'd been so caught up in my pain. I hadn't thought enough about how this was shaping her view of family, of trust. I started noticing Layla's behavior more. She'd always been my bright, chatty girl, but now she was quieter, clinging to me when I picked her up from school. One afternoon, she came home with a note from her teacher saying she'd been withdrawn in class. That night, I sat her down on the couch, determined to check in. "Layla, you know I love you, right?" I said, keeping my voice soft. She nodded, picking at her nails. "Is something bothering you, kiddo? You can tell me anything." She looked up, her eyes big and uncertain. "Are you and Mama fighting because of Uncle Hassan?" My heart sank. I wanted to lie, to protect her, but I couldn't. "We're having a tough time." "Yeah," I said carefully. "But none of it's your fault, okay? We both love you so much." She hugged me, and I felt her trembling. I swore I'd do whatever it took to keep her safe, even if I didn't know what that looked like yet. I couldn't avoid Noor forever, though. A few nights later, after Layla was asleep, I asked her to talk. We sat at the kitchen table, the silence heavy between us. I needed answers, not just about Hassan, but about her family's role. "Why did they cover for you?" I asked, my voice steady but raw. "Why did they let me think I was crazy?" Noor wiped her eyes, her voice shaky. "They thought they were protecting me," she said. "Hassan's been part of our family forever. They didn't want to lose him, or me, by making it a big deal." I laughed, cold and bitter. "A big deal? Noor, they lied to my face for years. Zayn called me his brother while he knew you were." I stopped, the words choking me. She looked down. "I know I hurt you. Amir, I ended it with Hassan. I want to fix this." Fix this? I didn't even know what this was anymore. Our marriage? Our family? The trust her family shattered? I thought about my parents, how they'd faced every hardship as a team, no secrets. I'd wanted that for us, but now I felt like a stranger in my own home. "I don't know if I can trust you again," I said, the words cutting me as much as her. "And your family? I can't even look at them." She nodded, tears falling, but didn't argue. For the first time, I saw her not as my wife, but as someone who'd chosen her loyalty to Hassan, to her family, over me. I started thinking about what came next. Divorce felt like a failure, like letting down Layla and my parents' legacy. But staying felt like betraying myself. I lay awake that night, picturing Layla's future, holidays split between houses, her wondering why her family fell apart. I thought about my shop, the life I'd built for us, now tainted by Noor's secrets. I didn't have a plan, but I knew I couldn't keep living in this half-truth. I had to find a way forward, for Layla's sake, even if it meant tearing down everything I'd believed in. The kitchen table talk with Noor left me hollow, like I'd poured out everything and gotten nothing back but echoes. She said she'd ended things with Hassan, that she wanted to fix us, but her words felt like a bandage on a broken bone. I didn't know if I could believe her. Not after years of lies backed by her family. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those photos, Zayn's fake smiles, Noor's mom calling me beta, while knowing the truth. I was drowning in it, and the only thing keeping me afloat was Layla. I threw myself into being there for her. Maybe to prove I wasn't failing as a father, I took her to school, helped with her math homework, even started teaching her how to change a tire at the shop. She'd giggle, smudge with grease, and for those moments, I could forget the mess at home, but then I'd see her watching me, her eyes searching, like she was waiting for me to tell her everything was okay. I couldn't lie to her, but I didn't know how to tell the truth either. How do you explain to a 10-year-old that her mom broke her dad's heart and her grandparents helped hide it? I started pulling away from Noor's family completely. No more dinners, no more Eid gatherings. When Noor's mom called, I let it go to voicemail. Her messages were all the same, cheery, oblivious, asking why we hadn't come by. I wanted to scream at her, to ask how she could act like nothing happened, but I didn't. I couldn't face them. Not yet. Noor noticed, of course. They're asking about you, she said one evening, her voice tentative. They're worried. I snorted, setting down my coffee mug harder than I meant to. Worried? They lied to me for years. Noor, they don't get to play family now. She flinched, but didn't argue. Maybe she knew I was right. Work became my escape. I'd stay at the shop late, fixing cars I didn't need to, just to avoid going home. But even there, the betrayal followed me. I'd be tightening a bolt, and suddenly I'd see Hassan's face, hear Zane's excuses. I started wondering if I'd ever fit in with Noor's family, if my immigrant roots, my parents' quiet, stubborn pride, made me too different. I'd always thought marrying Noor bridged that gap, that her family was mine. Now I felt like an outsider, like I'd been naive to think I could belong. One night, Tarek stopped by the shop with takeout. He didn't ask about Noor, just sat with me, cracking jokes about old times. Finally, he leaned forward, his voice serious. You gotta figure out what you want, Amir, not for Noor, not for her family. For you and Layla. I nodded, but the question felt impossible. Did I want to stay and try to rebuild, knowing I might never trust her again? Or did I walk away, upending Layla's world? I thought about my parents, how they'd stuck it out through every fight, every lean year. But they'd had trust. I didn't know if I could get that back. I started seeing a therapist, someone Tarek recommended. I felt weird about it at first. My dad would have called it paying to talk, but I needed to untangle the mess in my head. The therapist asked what I was most afraid of. I didn't even have to think. Failing Layla, I said, letting her grow up thinking this is what family looks like, lies and secrets. She nodded, jotting something down. And what about you, Amir? What do you need? I didn't have an answer. For 12 years, I'd built my life around Noor, Layla, the shop. Now, I didn't know who I was without them. By the end of the month, I made a decision, not a final one, but a step. I told Noor we needed space, that I'd move into the spare room for now. I couldn't keep pretending we were okay, but I wasn't ready to walk away either, for Layla. I tried to figure it out, but every night, as I lay in that cold bed, I wondered if I was holding on to a dream that was already gone. Moving into the spare room didn't fix anything, but it gave me space to breathe, to think without Noor's presence clouding my head. The house felt different now, like a stage where we all played parts, me as the stoic dad, Noor as the remorseful wife, Layla as the kid caught in the middle. I hated it, but I didn't know how to stop. Every morning, I'd make Layla's lunch, drive her to school, and try to act like everything was normal. She'd smile, but her eyes were too knowing, like she could see the cracks I was trying to hide. Therapy was helping. Slowly, the sessions forced me to face things I'd been dodging, like how much I'd tied my identity to being Noor's husband, to being part of her family. I'd spent years trying to prove I was worthy of their acceptance. Maybe because my own parents' sacrifices made me feel I had to earn my place. Now, knowing they'd lied for Noor, I felt like I'd been chasing a mirage. My therapist asked me to write down what I wanted, not for Layla or Noor, but for myself. I stared at the blank page for days. I didn't know anymore. Noor was trying, I'll give her that. She stopped going to her parents' house as often, and I didn't see Hassan's name pop up on her phone anymore. She'd leave little notes for me, apologies, promises to make things right. Once, she cooked my favorite korma, the kind my mom used to make, and left it on the counter with a post-it. I'm still here. I ate it, but it tasted like guilt. Part of me wanted to believe her, to rebuild what we had. But every time I looked at her, I saw those photos, her family's smug faces. Trust wasn't something I could just decide to have again. I started focusing on Layla, on being the steady one for her, We had a routine: pizza Fridays, bike rides on weekends, her helping me at the shop. One Saturday, while she was organizing my tools, she asked, "Baba, are you going to leave?" My heart broke. I knelt down, looking her in the eyes. "I'm not going anywhere, kiddo. You're stuck with me." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I realized then that no matter what happened with Noor, I had to protect Layla's sense of safety. That meant figuring out what kind of family I could give her, even if it wasn't the one I'd planned. I finally confronted Noor's parents. I didn't plan it. It just happened. They showed up at the house one Sunday, arms full of food, acting like everything was fine. I sent Layla to her room to play and faced them in the living room. "Why'd you do it?" I asked, my voice low but shaking. "Why'd you lie to me for years?" Noor's mom started crying, saying they didn't want to break up the family. Her dad just sat there, silent. "You were like my parents," I said. "I trusted you." Noor's mom reached for my hand, but I stepped back. "We thought it was best for Noor," she said, "for Layla." I shook my head. "You chose her over me, over us." They left without another word, and for the first time, I felt free of their hold on me. That night, I sat with Noor and laid it all out. "I don't know if I can stay," I said. "Not because I don't love you. I do, but I can't live with this betrayal." She nodded, tears falling, and for once, she didn't try to fix it with words. We agreed to try counseling, not to save the marriage, but to figure out how to co-parent Layla if it came to that. It wasn't a happy ending, but it was honest. I thought about my parents, how they'd fought for their family through everything. I was fighting too, but for something different: my daughter's future, my own peace. I started to see it clearly. Family isn't just blood or vows. It's the people who choose you, who don't hide the truth to protect their own. I wasn't sure what came next, but I knew I'd keep going for Layla, for the man I was still learning to be.